Welcome to the Phillip Wylie Show. Take a look behind the curtain of professional hacking and hear compelling discussions with guests from diverse backgrounds who share a common curiosity and passion for challenges and their job. And now, here's your host, offensive security professional, educator, mentor, and author, Phillip Wylie.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Phillip Wylie Show. I'm really excited about our guest today. I got Zach Hill joining. He works for TCM Academy and TCM Security. We've been connected on LinkedIn and Twitter for years, and I've kind of seen some of the things he's done at TCM Academy and the marketing things he's done there. You know, he's a content creator. And one of the things I've been looking at for this show is to branch outside of just cybersecurity. A lot of projects I start, like when I started the Hacker Factory, it was called the Hacker Factory because the goal was offensive security mainly. But with this podcast, I really don't want to confine it to just, one set specific topic, and kind of got the broad range topic ideas in my mind. Part of the reason why I call it the Phillip Wylie Show. I have ideas of maybe having some health related stuff. I've got a former personal trainer and that had a story where he went through some tough life issues and changed his life, became a better person through like meditation, and he offers that. So more and more things that I want to offer are things outside of just cybersecurity that can help people mental health wise, and just generally other topics of interest. One of the things I like to do, and part of the goals of my podcast is one of my missions in life, is not only to share with people resources, knowledge, but also just things that I find interesting and that could be helpful to others. So I really like to share. And so one of the things I enjoyed during RSA is I recorded a live episode of the Hacker Factory podcast, and it was focused on content creation. I had Nahum Sek, Daniel Miesler, and Jason Haddix on to discuss content creation. And after that podcast recording, it kind of made me think we need to do more of this so that way people can kind of see how to market themselves, how they can use content creation to grow their cybersecurity career. Maybe it's just the whole career on its own. But I think it's a good topic to cover. It's a really good way for people to market themselves, start careers. There's people I've seen that started purely out of content creation. Maybe they were going to school, learning to be a pen tester, and they were creating content as a way for them to share and learn along the way. And also what it's done is help them launch careers. So it's a very valuable skill to have. It can help you a lot. And we're really living in a prime age for that type of content that it's, used to before. To get the quality content we do now, you'd have to have, a lot of expensive equipment and software. And now it's a lot easier and a really good way for people to launch careers. So I'm happy to have Zach on. We met for the first time while I was Hacking Fest, and we got to see each other for a little bit at Hack SpaceCon recently at Kennedy Space Center. So when I was thinking about guests, I thought, Zach has a lot of experience, from marketing and content creation on his own, as well as what he's doing for TCM Security and TCM Academy. So welcome to the show, Zach.
Thank you for having me, Phil. I always appreciate speaking with you. It's always an honor. Always.
Yeah, same here. And one of the things I love about doing a podcast, there's a lot of chances for me to learn from others. And I look forward to hearing more about your story and learning from you, so I can help improve my marketing skills and content creation skills.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I want to just kind of share before we begin or get like any questions, and I was actually writing stuff down as you were talking, is like, I want to make sure that people understand we're going to talk about the difference between content creation and being an influencer. And then we're also going to talk about like reinventing the wheel, because these are some of the most or biggest concerns I think people have when we talk about content creation and creating this type of content.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. And so before we kind of start diving into it, why don't you kind of share your background, how you got started, where you're at now, and also really the story you shared before was kind of also really kind of a hacker origin story, that what got you into content creation. But if you wouldn't mind sharing that too.
Yeah, sure. So I got started way back in 1999. I was 15 years old. And that's really when I got my, I guess, introduction to technology at a more we'll say like advanced level. And these were back in like the AOL days. And back then, so 1999 again, we were talking to people online in chat rooms via text. I didn't know if people were real or not, who they said that they were, right? Like, we wanted to talk to people on the phone, and that sounds like super weird, but like nowadays, but that's what we wanted to do. And I didn't have any money, and chat rooms were a great way to learn information. And there was a lot of different rooms out there that existed, and I stumbled across one and learned how to develop websites and host them for free out on these things, these other websites called GeoCities and AngelFire. And if you're an old school person, you'll know exactly what those are. But you could basically like go view an AOL page, the source of the AOL page, and the pages were so basic that back then, like, copy that source, throw it in a notepad, upload that into a GeoCities page, and you could have a website that was looking really much like very identical to an AOL site. And you'd say on there, hey, your account is going to be terminated unless you update your billing credentials. And we would send that to people, and then get billing credentials. Not something that I obviously love admitting to nowadays, but I was 15 years old. I didn't know any better. When I found out it was illegal, I stopped doing that. And like immediately, like somebody was like, it was like 6 months later, somebody's like, the FBI could come knocking on your door. I was like, for real? I had no idea. And I stopped doing it. That scared me for sure. But this is 1999. I was 15 years old. Like, that was my first introduction to building websites, but also social engineering. And I kind of, like, we laughed earlier because, it's in 24 years, in the last 24 years, that has not changed. That aspect of social engineering has not changed at all. People are still developing websites in the same manner, that I was back then, and it's only getting easier. And I gave you a great example of 10-year-olds. 10-year-old can go out on ChatGPT, say, ChatGPT, make me a website that looks like a Facebook scamming or a Facebook like login portal or billing portal or whatever, and say, update my credentials and whatnot. And they could, go through those same methods, right? And get, billing information or credit card information, right? So then get, their Roblox or their V-Bucks, so it's crazy that hasn't changed. But, once I learned that was not a good thing to do, then I learned just how to develop websites, and I learned more about internet marketing. So this is, 1999, to about 2008. That's what I learned how to do is, search engine optimization and web development. And then 2008, I got really interested in infrastructure IT. I was like, I'm sick and tired of marketing and doing websites. Like, I really like this infrastructure side and being involved with hardware and things like that. And I did that until about, 2018 is when I went full-time doing YouTube. And, in 2014, I created this YouTube channel called IT Career Questions, where it was all about helping people get into IT. And that definitely evolved tremendously, I guess, from where it all started. And because in 2018, that's what I ended up doing full-time. Left a full-time job working at a hospital where I was doing IT. I was doing like mobile device administration and security awareness training. And, so since then I've been doing this weird mixture of content creation and marketing. And back almost 2 years ago now, I've been working at TCM Security doing all the marketing and everything involved there with the academy and consulting. And we just put out, Heath and I just put out a course, Practical Career Ready Professional, which is about teaching people the soft skills, so not only are we teaching people about, technical skills, we're teaching people the soft skills and marketing skills, branding skills, and things like that they need to be successful in IT, because those are important as well. And I'm sorry, that was very long-winded.
Oh, no problem. No problem. And I think it's going to be a great course when it comes out. So people want to,
it's out. It's ready.
To be on the lookout for that. Oh, cool.
It's live. Yeah.
Very cool. So yeah, why don't we dive into some of the things that you kind of had lined out to discuss? Is one of the things that's nice about having someone like your show, like yourself on the show, that you said you kind of had to outline as some things to discuss. So if you don't mind kind of diving into that, we can.
Yeah. So again, just to kind of I guess set the tone, because we're talking about content creation, and you've talked about that in the past, and I think when you look at especially now, it's 2023, and especially since 2020, the aspect of creating content and the power behind that has just increased tremendously, right? And it's not again to become an influencer. I would never encourage anybody to be a quote unquote influencer. That's not by any means what I mean or have an understanding of when I tell people to create content. The purpose of creating content, and creating content, it could be writing blogs, it could be creating, tutorial videos and walkthroughs, different write-ups, there's a variety of different ways that you can create content. The purpose of that is, one, it's going to help you learn. It's going to help you kind of understand whatever those topics are that you're covering at a better level, but it also helps the community. And I think that's the most important aspect of creating content. It's not to influence the community. It's not to necessarily be known by the community. It's to help the community. And I think if people are always coming at content creation in that aspect, it's always going to be beneficial to them. And like the other, side of that is like, well, there's already people out there doing walkthroughs for Hack the Box, and there's already people who have written blogs on this thing. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. And it's, you're not reinventing the wheel, right? Like, you're not going to do the same thing that they've done, right? They've done, covered a specific topic, but you as a human being, an individual, you are going to provide your own unique perspective to that. And that's what's important. What are the things that you've learned about in whatever these topics are that you're covering, and how can that impact somebody else? Everybody's learning style is different. We all learn and absorb information so much differently from one another. So whatever, style of content creation you want to do, and, whatever unique twist and aspect that you bring to that, like, maybe that's what somebody is looking for, right? Like, there might be only a few blogs out there that are unique to a specific topic, and somebody might say, I don't like any of those, and you might come along and write some blog, and it's like, that's exactly what this person was looking for, right? Like, I think that's a huge it's not talked about enough, right? It's not acknowledged enough, like, how important this is for not only yourself, but just the community as well. Because, like, the byproduct of this, like, what happens from you doing this is it's not, again, that you're trying to influence and be known, but you become known because of this, because you are trying to help, because that is your underlying purpose of wanting to do it, because you're genuine about it. That's what makes, I think, the biggest impact. That's what helps the most. That's why content creation is important, especially now in 2023, going forward. Everything is so digital, and we're so remote, in all of the aspects of our lives, jobs and et cetera. It's pivotal now, I think, more than ever, to be involved on social networks and putting yourself out there. The days are long gone where you go into a job and ask for a resume or ask to speak to a manager. You get directed to go apply online. But like, the biggest tool that you have to your ability are these free resources, known as social networks, where you can then, network with a lot of these managers and people associated with these companies, by putting yourself out there. It costs you no money to do this, and it only helps you. Phil, you've seen people successful from doing this, as have I. I've been doing YouTube IT career questions for the last, it'll be 9 years now. And I cannot tell you the amount of, I literally cannot tell you, because there've been so many success stories that I've seen through people, especially like on LinkedIn or Twitter even, who have found, new employment, better employment through those social networks. It's just phenomenal. Phenomenal to see.
Yeah, one of the things too, when you talk about doing the walkthroughs and things, if you have this like link, show the links on your resume or your LinkedIn profile, or offer these resources when you're being interviewed or people are considering you for a job, maybe they see you do some pen test walkthrough of a vulnerable machine, or try hack the box system, and they see you do that, they get an idea of your technical skills. One of the examples I like to share, this is not content creation specific, but I saw someone at one of our local DEF CON groups, our DEF CON 214 meeting. A recent college grad was doing a talk on malware analysis. A hiring manager from Citibank was in the audience, saw the talk, asked for the resume, and they got a job. I mean, they did a partial technical interview without even really thinking about it. And when you do that with content creation, you're doing that on a broader, more global scale. Someone can watch that anytime they want to. You have to worry about that specific hiring manager being at a presentation you're doing somewhere. They're able to get that on demand anytime.
Yeah. Oh, it's phenomenal to show off, not only, like you said, your technical, skills and abilities, but especially with videos and recording video content, like it shows off, personality. It shows off, a little bit more who you are. It can be a little bit more unique and personable. And, a lot of times people like to see that, goes a lot to soft skills, and the way that your ability to communicate is so important in the world of information technology as a whole. And as we said earlier too, like nobody talks about this enough, how important soft skills are. Again, across the board in IT. And if we want to get specific to cybersecurity, talk about pen testing, even specific, like if you're doing a pen test, you may be tasked to write out a report. So like if you're already like writing blogs and creating that type of content and creating other types of write-ups, like you're going to oftentimes find that, your writing style improves and, you'll write better reports for customers, right? Also, if you're creating like video content, like you'll find that your communication gets better, the way that your delivery of certain things that you say improves and gets better. So when you're delivering, that report to a client and you're doing that debrief with them, right? Like you may find that, hey, it may be a little bit easier for you to present that debrief to the client, so there's so many benefits to content creation, I guess, so much value there, I guess, across the board,
And when you mentioned the soft skills, one of the things we got to take into consideration too, because you were talking about when you're 15, people want to talk on the telephone. They don't do that as much anymore. The younger generations, not a knock, but the way they communicate most of the time are through some kind of instant messenger or texting. Sometimes they use acronyms and short messages to get their message across, and that works well enough. But when they get into the business world, they're writing an email, trying to communicate with someone else. They may not understand that. Maybe it's not complete sentences, proper grammar. And so if you can convey those communication skills, it's going to put you, kind of a step above some of your peers in your generation. They're trying to get jobs because maybe their communication skills aren't as polished as yours. From being so heavily ingrained in the social media, people have a hard time with the physical. Talking to people in person or on a phone may be difficult. So those are the things that are valuable. You develop those skills is going to give you an edge against your competition.
Yeah, and this might sound crazy, but technical skills are overrated because all the technical skills can be learned, right? And there's readily available information everywhere, right, that you can obtain these skills. The soft skills, again, there's not a lot of coverage on that. There's not a lot of people talking about like what it takes to learn, what those soft skills are. So, sometimes it takes years to develop those soft skills for people, but those soft skills, again, can really sell you, to everyone almost, especially if you can convey in some way that you that you have these great communication skills, convey along the way that you absorb information like a sponge and you love to learn and you're moldable and adaptable and things like that. And people are going to see all of that and put that together and be like, well, if they come into this organization, like they have, all of these great skills and we can teach them, we can teach them how we want things done. And we know that they can work with that. So again, like it gets so many benefits to this. I think we'll just keep like unlocking things as we go forward.
Yeah. One of the nice things too, is companies are starting to realize that in most cases it's vendors or consulting companies realize that the streaming, the video content creation is important because like a really good example from our community is She Networks, Serena, that now works for Black Hills Information Security Group. They saw her TikTok videos and YouTube videos where she was explaining networking and got into explaining some security tools and that sort of thing. They saw the value in that, and now she works for them and is doing pen test. I mean, she was highly technical before that, more of a Cisco type background and networking background, but they saw the value and brought her over because, as you would probably attest, social media marketing and content creation, video streaming is sometimes some of the cheaper forms of advertising that you can do compared to trying to do television or some different printed types of advertisement.
Yeah. I mean, I tell every, like, this is honestly like why I started my YouTube channel. And it's just so it's weird to see that it evolved the way that it did, because like I never expected that. And I never anticipated that really, or but like, I just wanted to help people. So like IT career questions, it was just about helping people. And back then in 2014, there really wasn't a lot of channels out there that focused on IT as a whole. There was a lot of channels that focused on like development and things like that, but nothing like IT as a whole. So like I saw a gap there just from like my background in marketing. And I was like, well, there's a gap there. Like maybe I can help, like I want to help people. I want to provide some value here. So it's just like, well, I can try this and see what happens. And it worked out really well, and the brand grew and it did phenomenal. It was my full-time job, and I got totally burnt out on it and overwhelmed by it. And it was to a point where I needed to start hiring people, and that I was not in a position mentally where I could take on that in my life. So like I just completely backed down and essentially like walked away from that channel for I guess all intents and purposes, right? Like I still put out videos here and there from time to time, even still now, but like, not my main focus. So like a great example of like the power, this is what was leading me to this right here, is like the great example of social media, just like She Networks, is that, almost 2 years ago now, Heath Adams, CEO of TCM Security, he put out on social media that he was looking for somebody to help him with his social media. And I reached out to him, and, I have a background in education. I have a background in technology. I have a background in, internet marketing. Like I have this very, very unique and a background in cybersecurity as well. Right. So like I have this very unique background, and TCM Security is very unique in that we do consulting, like pen testing and et cetera. And we also have this academy where we're teaching people how to become penetration testers. And for, the last, like whatever 6 years it was at that point, like I've been helping people try to get into IT and try to get into cybersecurity. So like, I was like, hey, I can help you do all of these things, and, in the matter of like 3 days, like I had an offer letter in my email, just through like, a brief interaction like that. But he also saw everything that I've done in the past, and I also gave him like, hey, these are all the things that need to be improved, and this is what I can do to help you. So we're definitely accomplishing all those things now, which is phenomenal to see. But like that's where I guess I can directly relate like my personal experience to the power of social media and networking, creating content and things like that. And I don't want people to think like, oh, it's a unique thing. You obviously just brought up She Networks, but again, like we see this all the time. It happens like weekly, I feel like, or almost, depending on like how much I view my content feed, I'm sure, but I see it very, very often, where people are getting placement, through these different networks and things like that, and through putting out different content, just putting themselves out there, helping the community and things like that.
And it's also good to mention too that this could be part of your role somewhere. Maybe you're wanting to get into cybersecurity or whatever role, but this could be part of your job too. Because like for me, the past couple of years, I've moved more into the marketing side, and I'm able to leverage some of the things that I've been doing, and it's kind of could be part of your role. Maybe if you're in cybersecurity, you want to transition into something different, then you can move over to that side.
Yeah, absolutely. I swore off web development and back in like 2008. Like literally I was like, I never want to touch a website ever again for the rest of my life. Like I was just so burnt out on that at the time. And now here I am working at TCM, and I'm making landing pages and redesigning the websites and all this stuff. And I'm like, gosh, cannot believe I'm doing all of this again. But for so many years I also got to experience the infrastructure side, and still like I get to experience a different side of cybersecurity. Last year I went on my first physical pen test, so that was unique. And that's where like I got to put a lot of my social skills, like my soft skills, into use, right? But I also got to put my knowledge of security and I guess of course in a physical aspect to use. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I think I contribute a lot of like being able to do things like that, and go to conferences, right, and be in front of people, to also like creating content, because you put yourself out there, and that could also be very awkward for people, and uncomfortable for people, because I'm like very much an introvert. And I just put out a video on my YouTube channel like last week, where I talked about how difficult it is to be an introvert, and like there's a difference between being a content creator and being like sociable, and like what's behind the scenes. And it's like I'm a total introvert. Like I don't like talking to people, but like I put on a face and I put on my hat, and I go out and I do the thing, because that's what I have to do. It's hard, but I've figured out through the years like how to do that, I guess. And other people can do that too.
So you got tired of talking too much when you're 15 years old on the phone?
Yeah, and it's so, but it's so funny, because it's like back then, like that's all you wanted to do, and then when text messaging came around, it's like, no, don't call me, and it's just like, I guess one of the curses of doing like all this content creation and like all that stuff, right? Like there's so many notifications that come in constantly, that like if you look at my phone right now, like I just completely stop caring. So like if somebody wants to get a hold of me now, the only way that they can actually get a hold of me is by calling me, because I'll pick up the phone, because then it's like, oh, this must be important if they're calling me. They're not texting me, they're calling me. And I think people have understood that. Like, yeah, so it's weird how that's how it was then, and then it wasn't, like then nobody wanted to talk on the phone, and now it's like, yes, please just call me. Sorry.
Very funny. So what are some of your recommendations if someone wants to get started in content creation?
Obviously, man, I say obviously, and I apologize, but I think it's finding what that purpose is going to be. Like, what are you going to create content about? And like a lot of people are just like, well, maybe I'll do that. Like they have a lot of confusion with that. But it's just like, really just start with something that you're passionate about. So start with something that you're interested about. Maybe it's something that like, you are passionate about, you don't know enough about. And by creating some content about that specific topic, you get to learn more about it. So you'll have like a more interesting and maybe more exciting experience as you're going through and learning it and teaching it at the same time. Or like that's like kind of a great example I think I can give. But yeah, it's you have to get through the first hoop too, and that's the hardest part too. Like I can't tell you how many people have reached out to me who want to create content, and I go through like a whole list of things with them, like start here and do this and do that. And then the amount of people who actually follow through with just recording one video, because like that's step one, like I guess after kind of like understanding what you're going to record a video about, is just record a video, because that's literally like the next hardest thing. It's always the hardest, recording the first video, and the first video is always going to suck and be terrible, and you're going to hate looking back on it, just like I do. And it still exists on my YouTube channel, and I leave it there for a purpose, so that I can look back and remember like this is where it started, and like this is where I am today. And I think that's like a perfect example. Like you guys, like everybody literally right now could look back on my channel in the last 9 years, see where I started, like even like on my kitchen table or sitting on my couch in my living room with like these like clamp lights, to light up the room, no microphone, nothing. Like the whole purpose was I just wanted to help people. So, people just saw value in the pure content, what the information was. That's what made me so successful. And that's also what makes other people who create content successful, is having like that underlying like value, the value that you're providing to people, to everybody, not only just yourself of creating this stuff, and it's helping you learn all these different skills that we talked about earlier, but again, it's helping other people. And when you have that kind of like mentality and thought process going into it, you're going to create more genuine content. And that is the most important thing I think everybody should understand about going down that route. Because, and not to knock it by any means, and please, like, by no means am I knocking, like, if you absolutely want to be an influencer, that's fine. Like, that's great. But it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dedication to do these types of things, But at the end of the day, like, if you're there to help people, genuinely there creating content to help people, like, it'll make you a better influencer even, But
yeah, that's some good advice. And I think you're going to build a more solid brand. People see that you're, if you're legitimately trying to help people, it's more widely accepted. People are going to share the content. So I totally agree. Those are some very good points.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like the way TCM security was built, or, like the Cyber Mentor, like how Heath Adams started, like it's very much kind of the same way, as he set out to help people. And that's what we continue to do. Right. Like I set out to help people. I've been very successful since, you set out to help people, and through, your journey, you've been successful doing that. And each day you get to help more people, and you get to share stories, and you get to talk with, I guess people like me who get to, help share for further these stories, and help educate and, more people, and hopefully encourage them to continue their journey into something more successful, because that's the goal. Like, that's my goal. Like, that is my purpose in life. I just want to see people succeed and do better than me.
That's a great purpose, and one that I align with. I appreciate you taking time to join me today. Is there anything you'd like to say before we close out the episode?
I just, never give up, I think, is, as cliche as that sounds, but honestly, like, just never give up. Taking the first step is the hardest. But once you do that, you'll be fine, and good luck to you. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for joining. It was good to learn more about your story and just kind of get your thoughts on content creation. I'm always looking to learn more myself, and I appreciate some of your input that you shared with me before we started. So it's very much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. I'm happy to be on, anytime, and help and share whatever information I can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you in the next episode. If you enjoy this content, subscribe on whatever platform that you're consuming it, and share it with your friends.
Thank you for listening to the Phillip Wylie Show. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, to learn more about Phillip, go to thehackermaker.com and connect with him on LinkedIn and Twitter @Phillip Wylie. Until next time.